Hey, you guys, it's Megan from Create Your Future. I'm a coach here. If you're interested in me helping you manifest anything in your reality, check out my description link below, as well as some self-paced courses that I offer as well. They're in the links in the description below as well. All right, you guys, today I want to share a success story with you guys. And always, as I always intend for you guys to get something out of it and make that own intention for you. So what I want to talk about today is maybe why you're not seeing results when you are trying to change someone outside, outside yourself and your reality, and how really there is no one to change but yourself and what that means. Okay. And I understand when things come like close to your heart, like how difficult that can be and how difficult it seems like things are outside of you and how difficult it can be sometimes not react when it's something so close to you. So to start out, I just want to go over this stuff, explain the success story. And I also want to read an excerpt from Neville Goddard from Out of This World. So I'm going to start with that. And I think it's very, very valuable. And I intend that you guys will understand everything that I'm saying. So to attempt to change the world before we change our concept of ourselves is to struggle against the nature of things. There could be no outer change until there is first inner change, as within, so without. I'm not advocating here for any indifference when I suggest that we should imagine ourselves as already that which we want to be, living in a mental atmosphere of greatness rather than using physical means and arguments to bring about the desired change. Everything we do, accompanied by the change of our consciousness, is but futile readjustment of the surfaces. However we toil or struggle, we can receive no more than our assumptions affirm. To protest against anything which happens to us is to protest against the law of our own being and our rulership over our own destiny. He goes on to say, the circumstances of my life are too closely related to my conception of myself not to have been formed by my own spirit from some dimensional larger storehouse of my being. If there is no pain to me in these happenings, I should look in with myself for the cause, for I moved here and there and made to live in an world in harmony with my concept of myself. And I think that's so important. There's another thing I want to share with you guys too. Okay, I'll come back to that. So first of all, what he's saying there is sometimes we think things are so outside of us, but it comes within and what we are holding in our consciousness. I know I've done a video about circumstances don't matter because we create those circumstances and we want to take our attention away from that. But also I want to dig, and you can check out my video for that if you're interested in it. But I also want to dig a little bit further into this conception of yourself and how changing your conception of yourself relates to everybody else if you're looking for a change in somebody in your reality. Okay, so we're all human, and like I said, so we are going to be tested a lot when something's close to our heart and our reactions. Okay, so when we're presented with that, with something unlovely circumstances, and we start to feel bad, some things that I want you to do is kind of remind yourself that you created it. And that's not to blame yourself here, because I'm going to get into this part of the story too. It's not to blame yourself, but this is to give you power, to remind yourself there's no outside source. There's nothing outside of you. You can change it, and no one is behaving independently from you. They're only behaving that way because you created that with a consciousness or a story that you've had. Okay, so and you can change anything you want. You can change the person, but it all comes by internal work here. And this is awesome. Again, it's awesome to do that. So again, when you hear this, don't be scared of it. Don't go down a path of, totally judging yourself or feeling bad. Because actually that's what this client was doing. And it was actually blocking our manifestation as well. I'm just looking at my notes here. But anyway, the thing here is to take away right here is just to make sure that you understand you created it so you can change it. And I want to say that again, nobody's acting independently from you, which is powerful. That means that it's not happening to you. You're creating it. So you have the power to change that. All right. Now, I understand sometimes when it's something close to our heart and we're presented with circumstances that are unlovely, it can be hard not to react to those. Okay. And when I say react, I mean dwelling in a state of those unlovely thoughts. Okay. Not reacting, sometimes people think it's like reacting to the person outside that you want to change. I mean, you can or can't do that. What really matters is, are you internally reacting? Are you dwelling and staying in the same place, seeing the person the same way, seeing your circumstances the same way, or are you changing it? So this person, success story, her specific person was very angry and very depressed. Okay, so she wanted to create a totally different circumstance because she didn't want her specific person to, he was faced with many, many things, like things with the law, and he just kept reacting, and he kept, like, her specific person was just held in the state of anxiety, depression. He felt like nothing was getting any better. He just felt so bad and kept being met with my client, would hear these stories and it would just break her heart, because all she wanted to do was see her specific person in a totally happy way. All right. So nothing was working. So what she did, and this went on for many years, okay, many, many years. So what she did, she tried to, reason with him and explain to him, oh, you can do this or that. She tried to explain to him. She tried begging. She tried love. She tried whatever she could do, but nothing was working. Okay. And she would also have these internal conversations where she was arguing with him or arguing with other people, defending him. But nothing was working because she did not change what was alive inside of her. Okay, so when I say know to change what yourself, it's the fact, the stories, the beliefs, the things that you are holding on to. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're angry or you're this or this way. It means that you created this person for whatever reason to be this way. And by begging, like she was doing, or any sort of outside force, or the internal dialogues, was holding that story in place, was holding that circumstance in place. So what she did is, and she was also arguing with him in her head all the time. So she realized that she was holding the story, okay? And that's what kept happening. Every time something happened, she would react to it internally and go back to that story and cry and see him this way. And one of the things that she was holding on to was what she realized, she was holding on to the same story about him and her, okay? So she was holding on to the story that she had created this because some action she had taken a long time ago had created this, and it just kept snowballing. So she kept blaming herself for, oh my gosh, if I had done this 5 or so years ago, my specific person, my special person wouldn't be behaving this way. This is all my fault. Okay, so it wasn't actually that she was upset with her specific person. Sometimes she would be upset with them, but mainly she was just feeling so guilty about creating it, as well as, causing the whole entire thing. And she didn't even realize it. She just kept going back to that story, and that story was holding it in place. Okay, not only that, she kept seeing this person as somebody who was so stuck, so angry, so depressed, and she feared for his life, that he was going to be this way for the rest of his life, and all she wanted to do was have him be happy. Okay, so she kept going back to that story, kept blaming herself, kept, seeing him as someone unhealthy. Okay, and so what she had to do is she had to let go of that guilt. She had to stop telling that story, revise the story. Okay, realize, okay, maybe this happened, let go of that story and change it. Stop blaming herself. And she also decided to select a totally different version of this person. Okay, and how did she do this? Well, she created, some intentions for this. And one thing she was saying, what she really wanted was to see him happy, healthy, and healed. So that was her main goal. That's her intention. So she wrote that down, scripted about that, what that looked like. Okay, and that was her main intention, seeing that, because that was her desired outcome that she wanted. And then she created a scene. Okay, and she did inner conversations because she already was doing inner conversations. And I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but you're already having inner conversations with your specific person or anybody when you're arguing with them in your head. And that's what she was doing. So she had to stop those internal dialogues. She had to stop arguing with him in her head and seeing him this way. And so, like I said, she created a scene, and which was an inner conversation scene where he was actually telling her how happy and healthy and how great he felt. And he was so glad that he wasn't depressed anymore and that he wasn't angry, and he just felt so good. All right. And she, felt that as much as she could as real. So that was her end scene. And she would visit that a couple times throughout the day, just to kind of invoke those feelings. All right. And then throughout the day, she had to also keep on her mental diet. So, and she was presented with things in her reality that were contradictory after she'd done the scenes. Okay. So she was really, really her patience, her tested, and her persistence was tested. Okay. Where the bad things happen. Okay. And she had to really stop herself, stop going into that internal dialogue, stop going in that story that he was this unhealthy person or that she had caused it and that it was never going to change. She had to stop that and say, no, no, no. He is happy, healthy, whole, healed. That's a new version. Okay. That's what she had to say to herself throughout the day, no matter what was showing up. And, and you guys, a couple of weeks later, he did change. Okay. She couldn't even believe it. It always happens in a way you can't even anticipate. Because our job is not to figure out how everything's going to happen. Our job is to figure out what we want. Okay. And we need to change and select a different version of that person, as well as, a different version of what we're saying to ourselves. Stop that, create that end scene, watch your mental dialogue, and select a different version. Because if you keep going back to that person, if she would have kept going back to him, being like, oh my gosh, he's always going to be this way. He's never going to get any better. Things are never going to change. My life sucks. I'm going to be stuck with this for the rest of my life. That was her internal dialogue going on and on. It would have gone that way, but she chose something different. And that's where our ability is to have our choices here, is to stop that, see what's showing up, our unlovely circumstances. Okay, this is where we're changing the conception of things in our reality and ourself. She had the ability, because nothing comes from outside of our consciousness. Nothing is created outside of us. We created it, and we can change it. And I understand how hard that can be, but that is, what I'm here for, to help you. But it's also, if you take coaching or not take coaching, it is going to have to be realized, what is that autopilot? What is that subconscious belief? What are the things, my thoughts going on and on surrounding the subject? And how do I change those? How do I stay on that mental diet? How do I not react? Okay. And that's what she did. She started noticing when this unlovely, first of all, she came up with a scene, and it doesn't have to be a scene, you guys. Like hers was a scene in internal conversation. It's just something that's going to get you to feel like, or get you to kind of that place of having the wish fulfilled. So her wish fulfilled would be for her specific person to be happy, healthy, whole, not be depressed anymore, not be sad, not be angry, not feel hopeless. Okay. She didn't feel this way, but she created her specific person to feel that way. And every time she interacted with him, this is how he was showing up. So what she did is realize her end goal, what she wanted to do to create that with intentions. She created the scene, she created inner conversation, internal dialogue. And anytime, she practiced that throughout the day a couple times, and then she watched her mental diet the rest of the day, what she was saying, making sure she wasn't dwelling and staying in the place of unlovely circumstances. Okay. And that's what she did. And he came and he said all these things. I feel so good. Oh my gosh. And he, she was like floored when she got the phone call and was talking to him, and it wasn't just once, it was going on and on. I just feel so good. I'm so happy. I just feel really great. You believe me, right? I'm not like, this is real. Like he was saying this stuff. He's like, I don't even know how this happened, but I feel so great. Okay. So she did change him, and she changed him because she changed the conception of him. And it was because it was alive in her. It was a story that was her fault. She created him this way. And she wanted so badly to change him on the outside, but what she would do is go internally and do those scenes and watch her mental diet creating that, because everybody's us pushed out and nobody is really acting independently. They're only acting based on what we're creating, the stories we're creating, and our limiting beliefs that we're holding in our mind based on that. Okay. And, the other thing is, she actually was holding him in an unlovely light, and nobody's destined to be unhappy. Nobody, so she took him out of the unlovely circumstance, unlovely light, and unlovely things that was regarding that she was holding him in, saying he's not changeable. He's never going to change. He's always going to be like this. She lifted him out of that state, and she lifted him to a different state and saw him as a different person. Okay. As somebody who was happy, healthy, and whole. Okay. And so we all have the ability to do this. All right. And I can understand when you're presented with unlovely circumstances, but as I said before, I'm going to go back and read my notes because I want to make sure I hit this again. I want you guys to remind yourself that you created it. Okay. It's all coming from you. Nothing can exist outside your consciousness. Nothing, no one's acting independently. Okay. And use that as power, because if you create it, you have the ability to change it. All right. You have the ability. Now, the thing is, she didn't realize that she was holding the story that she had this guilt. Okay. So that was a story she was also holding on to. And that was the conception of herself, that she was this bad person for creating it. So she also had to change that story of herself. Change the story, how recreate her specific person, recreate the circumstances to be lovely. Okay. And you all can do that too. All right. Because remember, you are supposed to have your desires. You are supposed to be happy. Okay. You are allowed to have anything and everything you want in your reality. And you do have the ability to change it. And sometimes it's just quieting your mind and listening to what you're saying and really focusing on, okay, what is it that I want? What is it that I want? You know, because she was kind of dwelling on the circumstances over and over again that were showing up that she didn't want. Okay. And most of us can kind of be addicted to that. And we feel that so real, those circumstances, and we dwell in that. And I just wanted to read something else by Neville Goddard that I really like, because I think he puts it much better than I could. Well, I just like how he puts it. So I'll say that if we could become as emotionally aroused over our ideals as we become over our dislikes, we would ascend to the plane of our ideal as easily as we now ascend to the level of our hates. All right. And I want to explain what that means to me. So if we take the situation, this client was so focused and feeling like it was so real with her specific person, was so depressed and so sad and so angry and had all these troubles with the law. She was focusing on that. That was what she's focusing. And of course, we're human beings. So we're and like, she felt really sad and crying and upset about that whole entire thing. Okay. But she was emotionally aroused by that. Okay. So what she did, and we all say there, so what we want to do, we want to identify what we want in our reality, is we create something that can I'm not going to say put that pressure on you, but if we can try to create that same arousal of things that we want, that sense of relief, you know, because normally our just mind is so programmed. That's what our mind does. It's programmed to protect us and go into that. So we want to override that and start dwelling and thinking and being aroused emotionally and excited about what we want to create. Okay. So that's what she did. So she created that scene, and she, you know, heard him say all these things, and she said things back to him, and they embraced, you know, and that was enough to give her some sort of, you know, sense of like, this is a possibility. She, you know, created that sense of arousal and excitement that this could happen. You know, it's a possibility. All right. So, and that is done again internally. So she tried for so many years to externally talk to him and show him her love, and to, you know, be like, you know, externally. So these things like look on research, try to tell him, try to explain. None of that worked. The only thing that actually worked was when she went internally, changed how she perceived him, perceived the situation, perceived herself. They created that scene that evoked some sort of relief that it might have been done. And then she stayed on her mental diet. Okay. So again, you can do that with the scene. You can do that with affirmations. You can do that with, you know, an internal, like your inner conversations. Okay. You can do that in many, many ways to be able to, because you're manifesting all the time anyway. So that last post or last quote that I read, which I'm going to read one more time because I think it's important. If we would become as emotionally aroused over our ideals as we become over our dislikes, we would ascend to the plane of our ideal as easily as we now descend to the level of our hates. Okay, so that's what we want to try to do. We want to spend more time on what we want to create, okay, versus the habit of living in what we don't, okay? And that's sometimes just a habitual way of thinking, and overriding that with our mental diet and our intentions. All right, so I hope this helped you guys, because this really helped this client. I'm so happy because, you know, she's happy, as well as her specific person. She's changed the state that he's in, and now he's happy, healthy, healed, and whole. And I think that's an amazing story. So again, I'm available for coaching if you guys are interested. The description's in the link below. And again, with her story, I was able to listen to what she was saying to figure out what her block was there. And that's, sometimes we're really unaware of like what we're saying internally in our head. Because it's just an autopilot, so we're taking those circumstances that are unlovely. We're also taking years and years, because this is a journey, like I've said. So we're taking years and years of things that we have learned, and we're unlearning that way of thinking as well. But again, like I said, I'm here if you guys need me, as well as some self-paced courses. If you want to check those out, they're in the description below. And I really appreciate you guys watching the video. And I intend that you guys get everything you want in your reality, because you totally deserve it. And I appreciate every one of you guys. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.